because we all know how Facebook is, you guys, and I'm sure everyone is going to be able to hear me here anyways. Just give me a second while I get everything moving here for all of us. I'm not used to this sector that much because I honestly find Instagram a little bit easier sometimes. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. This is, well, you guys know who I am. My name is Maria De Luna. If you don't, and if you're new here, I wanted to come in and introduce you guys to a beautiful divine soul. Her name is Meaghan Alton. Meaghan used to be an economist turned numerologist. She is got the secret weapon to business owners out there in the world with energetics of alchemy aligned with business strategy. And she helps to amplify their natural state of abundance and creating undeniable magnetism in their worlds and as well as their work. Her unique approach to business integrates numerology, activating her clients to feel the energy in new ways, heightening their intuitive skills, and learning how to alchemize challenges into opportunity by using the language of numbers. I mean, there's nothing more that I would love to say about this beautiful woman, because you guys will also hear her in my podcast, but I wanted to bring her on here because I love her. Like, if you see her, obviously, you know that she's absolutely just gorgeous and divine, but her wisdom, her knowledge, and her experience in life, as well as her experience with numbers, has really brought us in here today to talk to you guys about a beautiful thing called manifestations by numbers. So I really just wanted to say thank you, Meaghan, for coming on to this group. This is one of my beautiful connections with everyone. And obviously for anyone who's watching on replay, please make sure you guys pay attention. This is one of my absolute favorite subjects in the world. I can't speak today, as you guys know, but I just wanted to say thank you, Meaghan, for coming on. How are you, love?
Oh, I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm just so in awe of you and all that you do. I mean, for someone who was an economist turned into numerologist, and you and I both come from like corporate world, we're really like together on everything. I gravitated to you like, well, I mean, obviously, like I said, you're so beautiful, but it was like your wisdom, your energy, and honestly, guys, one of the things that brought me into her world was one of her master classes. I heard the title, and you know me, when I hear the titles that I like, I'm like, I'm there. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for just showing up, being in this space. I mean, you've been in this space for over 10 years, correct?
I have, yeah. I
Yeah.
think
So
I'm like I wish I remembered exactly when I started my business. But I had a toddler at the time. So I always think of it in terms of my daughter was 2 when I started my business, and she's 13. So my business is 11-ish.
yes. Oh, good number.
Right? Great number.
Yeah. So I would love, I mean, first and foremost, obviously, I've done this small little introduction. If you want to just kind of come in and talk about anything that you want to just speak about, obviously, before we jump into the manifestations of numbers and stuff, I'd love for people to kind of get to know you a little bit in this space.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Get to know me. Well, I am from BC. I live in a town called Kelowna, which if you're from Canada, you probably have heard of. And if you're not from Canada, you maybe haven't. It's like small-ish. It's not tiny, but small-ish. I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. I have a 13-year-old daughter, 18-year-old son, 5-year-old daughter. They are incredible. A single mom. I love all things nature, outside. I like to hike. I like to camp. I like to paddleboard, float on the lake. I would literally just never get off my paddleboard if I didn't have to. If I could figure out
But
how to teach a masterclass on my paddleboard, I'd probably do it.
one day we'll have like one of those things where you can actually, it'll
Right,
happen.
like maybe like a virtual reality headset that's
Right?
waterproof. You just head out there and you teach while you're on the water or something. I don't know. Why
Hey,
not?
sometimes you gotta allow technology to be workable with you while you're on, your paddle boarding and stuff, right?
Exactly.
I love it. So, single mom, beautifully located in Kelowna, one of the most beautiful locations, guys. I mean, if you don't know Kelowna, then I just don't know what rock you've been living in, because you should. And I mean, I just want to talk about your ventures into obviously numerology really quick for anyone who's actually on here right now watching with us.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I didn't start my business knowing I was going to do numerology. That wasn't what I started doing. I was never one of those people who knew I was intuitive or knew I had like a psychic connection. I didn't know any of that at all until I was 29 was when I started to realize things. But when I was in my early 30s, I had started going down this path of self-exploration, exploring my intuition, that kind of thing. And I was working at a corporate organization at the time. And I was doing like economics work, and I started a coaching practice on the side. And I decided my coaching practice should be focused on business because that's my background, business and economics. And I was coaching all kinds of businesses at the time, like brick and mortar, like from like a retail eyeglass company to like a construction company. But what happened was I was on this journey to understand my intuition at the same time. And so I started using numerology behind the scenes, like totally on the DL, not like I was upfront with my clients. I would just like run their numbers before I'd go into a session with them. And they would be asking me questions about marketing or about clients or whatever. And it would never fail that I would base the guidance I gave them according to their chart. And so people started saying to me, how did you know that this was the approach I should take? How did you, wow, what you said last time really hit home for me. And I tried it and these were my results. How did you know? And I'm like, well, doing your numbers. And they're like, what? Tell me more. And so I started explaining how it worked. And then it just naturally evolved into teaching numerology from there.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so fascinating. I'm always like intrigued with you because really numbers do work in every single sector of our lives. We just don't really realize how much we actually do it with business, right? Like it actually plays a lot into our business, so much. I mean, especially with synchronicities and seeing them all over the place. It's just so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I could just listen to you all day. I mean, like that's just me. One of the main reasons why we're on here today together is because how is a person manifesting with numbers in working with the number tables? Now, guys, I'm going to be popping in some information in here Meaghan's given us as well too. Just want to make sure, Meaghan, this is the one that you sent over to me, right?
Yeah, it's the 3-pager.
Yeah.
I sent it just like half an hour ago or something. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. I just want to make sure. I'm like, okay, I got to make sure this is in here for everyone. But
I'm
yes,
like, you guys can print out the table and you can use it as a reference if this is something that speaks to you.
perfect. So let's talk about that here, love. Let's go into this for them.
Yeah. So basically what I wanted to do when you invited me to come and do this is I was like, I want to teach something super usable. And a lot of people, when they're first dabbling with what numbers do and what numbers mean, is they start to notice number patterns in different places, right? You'll be like, oh, let me look at the clock. And like right now, I am really noticing that it's April 11th. So what does the 11 mean? What does the 4 mean? Right. And it's like, if you see number patterns, guaranteed there's messages in those numbers for you. And it's up to us to try to interpret and decode them. There's lots of ways we can do that, but I kind of shared a little cheat sheet around how this works. And basically numbers move through a manifestation cycle. I mean, I kind of feel like I should back up a little bit. There's a couple different ways there's lots of ways you can use numerology. There's 2 key ways that I tend to teach it. Number 1 is you carry a code. So you have a birth chart according to numerology, you have certain energy patterns that you run, That's how you were born. That's the energy you were born into. This is like the most optimal way for you to work and run your energy. And so, kind of as I mentioned earlier, the guidance I would give someone based on their code would be different if they had different codes. And an example of this is one of my best friends is a ruling 4. I am a ruling 7. Okay. When you look at 4 and 7, they're both physical numbers, but they are incredibly different energies. The way she builds her business is very different because 4 is very much on structure. It's on leadership. It's on stability. She's great at systems. She's great at analysis. Whereas 7 is all about the like build the plane as you fly it energy. It is the like take a leap of faith. It's take a risk. It's try something outside of your comfort zone. So I don't tend to have the same kind of like built out system, step by step, massive funnels and things like that. It's not to say that I couldn't incorporate that. I could, but it's not my core energy. And so it's definitely not the place that I need to be starting. Now, you also have these energy patterns that you experience over time, right? And so you're going to be moving through different days, different months with energy patterns, and these are all part of a manifestation cycle. Now, I didn't want to teach any complicated calculations because I wanted this to be something that you could just like pick up and run with. So instead of having to learn the calculations, you can simply say to spirit or to source or to your guides, you can say, I want you to use numbers to guide me, please. Use numbers. Show me through numbers what's next for me. What's an ideal step? What's an aligned action? What's an inspired action? Like where do I need to like give me the messages, right? Like what do I need to know through the numbers? And as soon as you ask for that, you're going to see numbers everywhere, like everywhere.
All everywhere. It doesn't stop. It's like a whole day thing too sometimes, right?
Yeah. Totally. And the first thing I often say to people is like the numerology I teach is intuitive based. So the first thing you can do is you can literally just drop in and you can say, okay, let me like get myself centered. Let me get myself grounded. I'm seeing 411 right now. Okay. Spirit, what is this message in 411? And just receive it. Just see what comes up. Right. And sometimes it's going to be a feeling, right? Sometimes it's going to be like a vision or an idea, or like maybe the radio is playing and a new song pops on and you're like, oh, that song, like, right? You have to be open to whatever the messages come. And then the next step from there is you can look at the guide I'm going to share with you and ask in the keywords if there's something that is jumping out at you. So, Maria, if you want to share a screen, we can just quickly look at the 4 and the 11 together. Absolutely. And whoever's listening, there's likely a message in the 4 and the 11 for you.
Okay. I'm all the way at the bottom.
Yeah,
so here is
I already kind of gave the hints as to what 4 means, right? But it's about stabilizing, grounded, being very practical, having very tangible results. Like it's solid, right? When you think of 4, you think of like 4 pillars or like the 4 legs of a table, right? And it's like, it creates this solid feeling. It's also very leadership minded. So if you're listening to me on the call today, if you're joining us in any, at the future, whenever, it's like, what in my life is asking to be grounded? What in my life is asking me to like take on a leadership role and really be like solid in moving this thing forward, right? Does that make sense to you, Maria?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, where do I need to see myself a little bit more so that I can be in that grounded position for whatever it is that we're actually doing for ourselves? I totally love that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then bringing in the 11, a lot of people love the number 11 and often assign it a spiritual meaning. It has a spiritual meaning. And you could have decided that with your, spiritual support team or whatever, but it does mean spiritual insights and interpreting like a higher perspective, right? So like, what is like a deeper meaning, a higher perspective? Like think higher self or think big picture, think like meaning, like what gives life meaning, what allows me to show up in a certain way, that deeper connection. And whether someone considers themselves spiritual or not, most people have a sense of, or would like a sense of, let's put it that way, what gives their life meaning. right? So you can kind of use that interchangeably of like spirituality or like what gives my life meaning.
I love this. And I
Mm,
mean, I just have to say this, it really brings the balance of understanding where these numbers are coming from and that deep connection to self, especially if we're working on something. And as you're talking about manifesting as well too, right? Like we're bringing forth certain things that we want to bring forth, and it's that deep connection that we get to have that's really tangible. Like to me, numbers are so tangible. It's like, yes, I see spirit, but now I get to like connect it here onto a physical realm. And I love how, I was just gonna be honest with you guys. I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to share this because I'm gonna keep it to myself. I
oh,
mean,
it's
let's
so
be honest, right? But it's just, it's such a beautiful way for us to have something to look into, especially if, I don't know about you guys, but there are times where I'm like, okay, what's that number again? Oh, okay, it's this one. Because now I have to look at
Mhm.
Google. And then you see
Yeah.
so many different things all over the place. But I think what I like about what you've done here is you're giving, the different stages that they can look into for themselves and really come in and go, okay, so I got myself like an 11. What am I looking to really heighten my perspective into the higher self and stuff like that, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like, I view it as numerology and numbers and energy is not passive. Like it's not happening to me. It's asking, do you want to co-create? Right. And
Mhm.
so it's really helpful, like how I would recommend using this. I feel like I would like to kind of walk you through all the numbers, but
Yeah.
how I would recommend using this is if you have a morning practice where you journal, or if you have a morning practice where you pull a card or anything like that, what I would recommend doing is writing down in the morning, like, this is my goal. And it can be anything. It can be like a short-term 1-day goal. It can be like, 30 days, a year, a 10-year goal. Does not matter, right? Something that you're desiring to create or to experience. Write it down and then say, Spirit, show me the numbers that help me to know where to activate my energy right now. Right. So say I just say, oh, like my goal right now is to find love. Like I want to find love. I want to be in a relationship. Spirit, show me the numbers. Right. And then it's like, I see the number 3 showing up and it's going to say, Meaghan, like be creative, like be playful, like get into this amplifying energy. And I'm like, okay, that's the action I'm going to take today. I saw the 3, it's reaffirming my goal. And that is going to be the next step of that manifestation of that goal, is to play with the 3 energy.
Love that. I love that. What if someone sees like a row of numbers? Like this one, I think I've asked you already prior, and now obviously that'll be something that people can listen to at that time. But obviously, in this space, like how we go into those sectors where we're constantly seeing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What would you
Yeah.
say in regards to that? How does that work into the manifesting of the numbers together?
So there are certain number sequences that do have very specific meanings. So sometimes, I guess there's kind of like entry level, mid level, and advanced level when it comes to interpreting, right? Because if I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, I can just ask myself, what does 1, 2, 3 mean for me? It's like, oh, it means like 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, I'm going to interpret 1, 2, 3 meaning go. It's an activation sequence, right? Or say, for example, I'm seeing 4s and 8s. Well, I might think to myself, 8s are just 2 4s, and 4s to me make me think of lucky, like 4-leaf clovers, luck. So when I see 4s and 8s together, I'm feeling that that sequence is going to mean good luck, right?
Mm,
So that would be kind of the like sort of entry level way of being like, what do you feel? Like when you're picking it up, what do you feel? Because your guides and your spirit are speaking to you in a language that you are meant to interpret, right? So it's not necessarily that, there is meanings, but those meanings don't need to take power over what your intuition is saying to you. So you can
mhm.
always start there. And then there are numbers that contain certain qualities. So for example, if you have a lot of 5s, 7s, and 9s show up, these tend to be very disruptive numbers. These are shaking things up. These are disrupt the status quo. These are be a bit of a rebel, push boundaries a little bit, right? So if you see those a lot, like that's a meaning that's like, I didn't make that up. Like it's a meaning, right, behind those numbers. So you can apply that meaning to whatever else those numbers might have meant to you, the 5, 7, and the 9. Or for example, 369 has a different energy to it. It carries different numbers. And some of us have heard 369, like the Tesla numbers and things like that. So we have a meaning to them. But in numerology, these are all air numbers. These are all mental numbers, and they're engines, right? They're engines. They move things forward. So it's like, if I'm seeing those patterns, that's what's happening, right? And there's different ones too. Like the 159 is a different pattern. That one is affectionately known as the arrow of determination. And that's a pattern that when you see it, is going to be like, when you start something, you want to see it through to the end. But there's some lessons in there of like, well, what happens when I make a commitment to see something through to the end? What happens if partway through I change my mind, I get new information, I have a change of heart? And what is my relationship with giving myself commitments and obligations versus allowing myself to change my mind, right? And these are like, there's nuance in a lot of these patterns. And of course, it depends on the circumstances and all of that.
Oh my gosh, just love you. I'm just going to come on to a quick check on the chats here. Arlene was saying she's baking. Good for you, Arlene. Our beautiful baker is just watching this. So thank you for being here with us. And Christina was saying, this is a great way of explaining how to use numbers as guides. Thank you so much. I think it really is, because let's be really honest. I think like, as I mentioned before, guys, I know a lot of you guys who are on here, we were on Google, or we're going to see a lot of different perspectives and stuff. And I think this really brings that idea of where to really begin. Christina was asking, she was going to ask about 5973 with you. I'm just wondering if we can touch on that one.
Yeah, so the 5 and the 9 and the 7 are all numbers that are meant to, well, they're all odd numbers.
Yeah.
So in general, odd numbers are disruptive and even numbers are balancing in general. Okay. So if you're noticing odd number patterns, you can tend to think, I'm supposed to shake things up, change things up, move things around somehow. Okay. Even numbers are more balanced, commitment, that kind of thing. When you see a long sequence of numbers, there's a couple of things you can do. You can actually add them all up and figure out what the primary number is and go just based on the primary number. Or you can look at them and say, what feels important here? Right? Like when I heard that sequence, I was like, there's too many numbers in there to interpret all of them, at least at this level, right? It depends on where I'm seeing those numbers. If I were to see those numbers in someone's birth chart, I would absolutely go into all of the specifics of each individual one, but I would know what the positions were and how to interpret that. Whereas if I just see it on like a bill or a receipt or something like that, I don't necessarily know if you need to go through all of them. You might either look at the primary number, which is adding them all up, or you might ask yourself, what is the important thing for me to be noticing here? And then pull that out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else want to ask questions while we're on here, guys? Just making sure everybody's here. Before we jump into anything, my gosh, I love this already. I was like, Meaghan, I could sit here and just look at this. This is amazing.
Right.
I know we've talked about the whole odd numbers and even numbers. We obviously sequence numbers as well too. So like you see like 555, 666. I mean, if you see 666, that's a really check your shit kind of number, I think. And then obviously we see like 777s or anything else like that. Is there anything else?
You want to know why I think there's fear around 6s? Because 6 is karma. And so for people who haven't been aware of the energy that they are contributing to the world, it's right that you might be nervous about the karma you're accumulating, right?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So if 6 represents karma, we don't need to be afraid of karma. We can positively work with karma. Like karma, to me, karma is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a reflection of what's the energy I've been contributing to the universe, knowing that everything's a mirror and will come back to me. So if I'm contributing dark energy or hateful energy or hurtful energy, it's going to come back around, whether it's in this lifetime or in a different lifetime. If I'm contributing loving, beautiful, whatever energy, it's going to come back around, whether it's in this lifetime or another lifetime. And 6 is an indication of karma. So I kind of think that's why we've had fear instilled around 6s, is because of the, punitive language around religion, right?
Absolutely.
And control and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, those are topics that are a little off, but not, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're related to each other in more ways than one, to be really realistic, right? Like when you're talking
It
about
makes me think of
666.
totally, and it makes me think of 13 being
Yeah.
an unlucky number, but also being the number of the goddess. And it's only because we were programmed to fear women's power that we became afraid of the number 13, right?
I love that. Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at even 13 as a number and you look at this evolution of the numbers between 1 and 3, it says ideas, seed planted, spark in nations. Wow, I can't speak today at all. Expansions, affirmations, traction, creativity, and appreciation of ourselves, right? So what is the number of the goddess? 13. And then 1 and 3 also amplifies all of that. Like it goes into that. And yeah, it really is based on what has been put out there into our society as well. So we really have to, and if you guys are watching, I did put this, it wasn't allowing me to put it into the comments, you guys. So there is a different sector that I have been able to place it onto. So if you guys are in the Facebook group, it will be into the files and stuff for you guys to also check out. And then download it for yourself. Meaghan's been kind enough to give this to us as well too, for you guys to be able to use, because this is her gem. This is her baby. She knows her numbers. Like, honestly, if I see a number, I'm like, Meaghan, what's this one?
Totally. I love getting those messages. It's
Right,
so
like
fun.
those are the thing. And as you were saying, when you were mentioning about numbers being like the odd numbers as well too, for me, I constantly keep saying 1, 2, 3, 4 all the time, everywhere I am going right now. So there's a lot of grounded stability, but at the same time there's that disruptance that you were talking about, like those movements as well. Am I right?
Absolutely. Well, and as soon as you said this, and this is where intuition plays into it, right? Because as soon as you said this, I immediately thought of the box step, right? Like in dance, the box step. And so I'm like, the box step is a very structured dance. When you learn it, you have to follow a very specific structure. But if you ever watch someone who's really good at that, they look like they're totally flowing effortlessly. And so, like, what is it about these pieces of structure in your life that are very grounded and supportive, but allow you to flow effortlessly, right?
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, now I probably have to sign up for you now.
It just makes me be like, right?
I love this.
Yeah, because for most of us, well, I shouldn't say most of us, for me and many of my clients, we are always like, I started studying modalities like this because I wanted my intuition to be louder. I wanted to hear it better. I wanted to hear it more clearly. And people come to me and they're like, how do I develop my intuition? And it's like, pick a modality that speaks to you and work with it. And it gets louder and louder and louder. And this is the thing I love, is like, for a lot of people who are like, I don't know where to start. Numbers aren't like, it's like the formula is the formula. You're not making this shit up. It's right in front of you. And then you can base it initially on the definitions, like in the book, in the handout, in the guides, whatever. And then you let your intuition come and color in the lines. And that is where the magic happens, when you start to let your intuition color in the lines. It's so beautiful.
It's like a coloring book, you guys. Seriously. You've got the guidance, the tools and everything and the modality, but you get to do all the coloring stuff. I don't know about you guys. I was always outside the lines though. I was never an in-line kind of kid, but that is beautifully said, because it is really about, amplifying the development of your intuition. And especially for those of you who are here, Meaghan talks about this constantly in some of her master classes. Actually, speaking of which, you have something happening, actually. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I do. Starting next week on Monday, I'm doing a numerology challenge. And so the challenge is all about activating soul wisdom and how you can work with your own code, your own numbers, like the personal ones associated with your birth date, to learn how to work with them to activate your soul wisdom, your soul gifts, and really kind of strengthen your inner sense of power and your inner sense of magnetism. So I'm really excited. It's a free challenge. It starts next week. If you're at all curious, I always do really fun handouts and things like that. So the resources are great. And we have an incredible community. A lot of my numerologists will always reattend my free trainings because you always learn something new, right? And so it's really supportive and a lot of fun.
I love it. And you know what, guys, if you don't know your soul number, you get to have fun with her. Actually, it's well too, starting next week. I found out I was an 11, and then my girlfriend was like, I already told you that. It's like, see, that's why I'm an 11, because I don't remember things.
Sometimes we need to be told multiple times. I'm like that with my astrology chart. I get my chart redone for me every single year. And every single year I'm like, wait, that's what I am? Oh my gosh. Like I don't remember all the positions. But here's the thing, like we don't necessarily need to remember everything. We'll remember what we need to remember when we need it. And based on where your intrigue lies, right? It's like the thing that I'm like curious about. I'm like, what does this mean? It's like, go and follow those breadcrumbs.
Yes, absolutely. And Christina says, I was told I am a 4.
Beautiful. Like I said, one of my besties is a 4, and I love her so much because she's so like, she is like task, like kills it, structure. Like she is just, it's like an inspiration to me to watch her map out a plan and put it into action. Right. And then conversely, which I think is so funny, she looks at me and I'm like, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants a lot. That's part of what 7s do, because we need to feel the energy and create in the moment to it. And so she looks at me and she's like, how do you just literally hop on a masterclass and teach without having done like a run through? I'm like, if I did a run through, I would die.
And you know what? She just said, I am not like your bestie at all. She's totally different on that one.
Well, and that's the thing of like, if you were to compare it to astrology, you have your like sun sign or whatever, zodiac sign or whatever it's called. And then you've got all these other positions that influence. So this is the same thing. If you are a ruling number 4, you also have a whole bunch of other positions within that are going to influence the type of 4 that you are. And so if you're not called to be like practical and grounded in systems, it might be more the leadership traits of the 4 that you're embodying, right? And so looking at the rest of your chart would give us a lot more sort of detail.
Exactly. And honestly, I will put in the links here for you guys as soon as I stop screen sharing, because I just read my whole screen's on here. I'm like, oh, but she's got this amazing class coming up with you guys as well too. I think you guys would definitely love it. I know I'll be there in spirit, connecting and replaying them as well. As everyone knows, I will be gone here for next week. But is there anything else you want to add into this here with us, Meaghan?
I think the biggest thing is to recognize like that the energy is all around you, whether you have a way to label it or not, whether you have a way to interpret it or not, it's all around you. And some of us can feel it. And some of us, use different resources to help us create an anchor with that. Right. And so that's kind of that is what numerology is. That is what probably any modality is, from myth and storytelling to tarot, to Reiki, to like anything you want to go to. It's looking at like, what are the patterns around me? And rather than being like passive to them, I recognize that these patterns I'm able to interpret them because I'm meant to work with them. I'm meant to co-create my reality, right? Like we hear this all the time, co-create your reality. Well, what does that mean? right? Like to actively co-create, it's like recognize that this is happening for you to choose, how do I engage with it and what am I going to do about it? And so finding like the ways, the resources and the tools that empower you to find that position within yourself of like, I'm going to move it forward like this. This is what I want to do in my life. This is how I'm going to apply this or whatever. Giving you that sense of inner strength and inner power, to me, that's like everything, to seek out whatever gives you that and continue to explore it.
I love that. So amazing. So beautiful. Guys, if you didn't get enough information, I don't want to overdo it here because I really want you guys to take a look at her beautiful class that's coming up next week. It's going to be amazing. She honestly, like I could listen to, like I said, I could listen to her all day. She doesn't probably want to sit here all day with me though.
Loving our conversations, Maria. This is so fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But it's really about just getting to know all the people that come into this space. And for those of you who are here, I know some of you I've met through like retreats, and I know you guys personally, and some of you I've met through different spaces. But if you are in a space where you're like, I just don't know where to go and what direction to do, honestly, take her free class, have some fun, enjoy it, and have a moment to really see her magic. I would not bring people I do not want to recommend into this space that I can tell right away that have just everything that they know about. And she's been doing this for years. She's not like, you know, a new person that's coming in a year ago. She's been doing this for years, and her wisdom and her knowledge is just phenomenal. And you get to experience all of that. Like she caught me at the word witch. So that's how I came into her world. Right.
Yes.
And you get to hear all of that in our podcast as well, too, because we talk about that as well. As you guys know, my podcast is coming up as well, too, with Meaghan in there. I'm so excited for her to be in there.
We had such a good conversation. I'm so glad that was a podcast recording.
Right? I was like, oh my God, we could go on forever, but I probably have to speak it like 60 minutes. It was so good. We just went into different spaces and it was amazing. It was exactly what we needed at that time. But I want to make sure you guys have all the information. So I will add all of her beautiful, amazing things in here for you guys to check out her link. And as well as Meaghan, before we jump, obviously, I really want to talk about your amazing program because I think it's phenomenal. I think people need to know more about this because, first of all, when I found out you had a numerology program that also certifies, I was like, what's this? I was like, I need to know. What is this? All right, what can I do to be in there? And also, how can I support you? Because you guys know this is how I work, right? Can we talk about that a little bit as well, too?
Absolutely. Yeah, I certify people in numerology. The biggest thing to me is there's a few pieces around this. Number one, obviously, I certify you in numerology. So you learn the numerology. That's all there. You have resources, you have guides. I walk you through it all. But there's a few pieces kind of beyond that that are really that speak to my soul. Number one, the numerology community. I don't even know, like 130 people in my numerology community now. It's amazing. It's just, you cannot say enough things about this community. It's so loving and supportive, where if people are working on a chart and they're like, oh, I don't know about this piece, I don't know about that piece, everyone will come and give feedback and share ideas and brainstorm. And it's just like that supportive place where when you're a practitioner and you're doing your magical work in the world, like you need those people who you can lean on sometimes and who you can have that reciprocal relationship with. The second piece is once you're in my numerology community, you can continue to attend all my trainings around that same, like the certification free. I don't charge alumni. You continue to reattend. And the reason is our knowledge base is always growing and evolving. And numerology is a field, a living, breathing, collective field. And so we are both receiving from it as well as contributing to it. And the more we work in community, the richer and more dynamic that field becomes. And the coolest thing about this, Maria, which just blows my mind every time, is when I used to teach numerology years ago, it would take people like on average 2-3 months to get to the point where they could feel the numbers in a felt sense way. Now, most of my students can feel the numbers in a felt sense way between week 2 and 4. Like we are
Wow.
collapsing time by being in this community, right? And contributing to this energetic field that we can all pull from as well as give to, right? So
Mhm.
that's really cool. The other thing I do is I'm obsessed with business. I freaking love it. That's why I spent 6 years in university studying it. I love it. It's empowering. It's
Mm.
like everything. But there's another thing about business that I'm really obsessed with and really encourage in my community is that when you put your work out there in order to be compensated for it, there's an appreciation factor that happens. And appreciation meaning very literally growth, like something will grow, something will expand. And so I give you the tools to sell your readings, to run a business as a numerologist if you want to have a side hustle as a numerologist, to incorporate it into a current business model. Like I personally do hot seat coaching and things like that, going in the comments, that kind of thing. I have people who've gone from like no business to 100K a year only doing numerology. I have people who already had a business, brought numerology into their business and doubled their income. I had one woman triple her prices as a result of incorporating numerology into her product. So there's lots of different ways you can kind of work with it. But because I care so much about the business and the applicability in my certification, I teach a business boot camp that gives you a lot of these pieces, and I'm always available for business conversations.
Ugh, it's a woman always after my own heart all the time. Every time I'm on the call with you, or even when we're just doing anything, I'm like, oh God, I love you. Because you really do speak my language, right? Like I think, and that's so important for us to find people that are in that space. And as I said, guys, I'll put all of her info, her website, her things on here for you guys to take a look at. Really take a look. I would not recommend something like this because it is so, it's so vital because as you guys know, as spiritual beings right now, we're looking for something that's tangible. And I'm going to say this strongly, obviously, because one, it's my group, and two, I love you all. But if you're in a space where you're learning, I really do want to say, take a look at Meaghan's courses, take a look at her. If you want to just watch her for a while and see where she's at, take a look at some of her things, because truthfully, I do believe that what she has in the tangible world of, you know, life here right now is that numbers do play a huge role in every part of our life. The numbers that we use when we're connecting with someone that's a partner, the numbers we use in our business, the numbers we use for ourselves. Like I know, and I was just in a witch's retreat this weekend. I was talking to one of my beautiful girlfriends who put her retreat together, and she had a list of when we would do things on sequences and numbers and days, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is actually fascinating because I'm going into a numbers call with Meaghan too. So it complements each other, right? And that's the beauty of modalities like this, is that it gets to really complement the other things. Like you talked about tarot. Like for me, when I see tarot cards and I see the numbers, that's what I pay attention to first, right? I pay attention to which one of it is in the signs and stuff like that as well. So, oh my gosh, like so many things. And can I just also say, you guys, she literally cold plunges like me. So we're already besties in life. We're already besties in life.
Right. I love it.
I love it. Well, Meaghan, thank you so much. Guys, I put her information for her activation for this week coming up for you guys as well, too. If you guys want to take a look at it, it's been pinned. Go check it out. Have some fun. Enjoy. Be part of it. If you can't watch it, I'm sure her replay will come in as well, too. And there'll be, you know, connections with her. You can find her obviously here in Facebook, but also on Instagram. And I'll put her Instagram in there for you guys as well, too. So you can follow her. Meaghan, I love you. Thank you. I always have so much fun with you all the time.
Oh, I love you too. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Reach out if you have any questions. I love to chit chat.
Thank you guys. Have a good one, guys.